Can we 10x the value of your work by the end of this video? I'm Lee Blue. I've been selling websites for over 20 years, and for the last 7 years, I've been helping web designers land their best clients ever through my coaching programs over at lee.blue, which you can check out right there. But sometimes just a small shift can make a massive difference in the value of your work. And I've got about a dozen examples to kind of illustrate that point, because a lot of people will email and say, hey, Lee, you know those $10,000 websites you keep talking about? Can you send me a link to one of those websites so I can compare that with what I'm doing? Because I'm only getting like $1,000 for my stuff, maybe even less than that. And if I could just make my sites look like your sites, then I could sell $10,000 websites. But you're probably already building $10,000 sites. It's just missing the context around it. And that's what I wanted to illustrate today, because sometimes just a small, like one small thing can radically change the value of something. For example, suppose you came to me with this old Martin guitar, and you said, hey Lee, I've had this old guitar, what's it worth? And I look at it, I look at it's the 1950s, I'd look at the tone woods, I'd compare it to other guitars that look the same, have the same condition. I'm like, hey, it looks like a $5,000 guitar to me. And then you're like, hey, you know what, this was Elvis's guitar. Well, Elvis's guitar just sold for $1.3 million a couple years ago. So like one small piece of information, massive difference in value. But you can't see that it's Elvis's guitar just by looking at the tone woods, right? You're not buying just the guitar. You're buying like the legacy, right, of the history. Here's another example. I've got a house, let's say it's 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. What's it worth? $100,000? $200,000? And then you say one more thing. This house is oceanfront, Marathon, Florida, overlooking the Keys. That's like $1 million, right? But you can't tell that just by looking at the house itself. You have to look at what's around the house. So let's take a look at how to do that for your web design stuff. Now, if you want to see an exact example of our $12,000 package, like all the features that we include and how we get leads for those projects, check out the workshop in the description. It's lee.blue/workshop, and you'll see all of the details for how all that stuff works. But let's take a look at some questions that you can ask yourself as you're putting together your own projects for your clients and try to get that context around what you're doing. And I think you'll see a huge shift in value just by answering some of these questions. The first one is, have you defined your client's audience? And what I mean by that is a lot of times our clients have multiple audiences and you try to address them all at the same time. Like maybe you even have this issue for your own website. Do you ever feel like you have writer's block when you try to write stuff on your own site? Like anytime I feel like I have writer's block, it's almost always because my audience is too broad. And I'm trying to speak to everybody and nothing's landing. It's all just fluff. But if I can narrow it down to a very specific type of person with a specific problem, I can then say, here's how I can help with that problem. And so that's the first thing that I think of, and that massively increases the conversion rate of the website. And if you're increasing the conversion rate, that massively increases the value of your work. And then closely related to that is the second one is, have you helped your client package their stuff based on the audience they're targeting? And you might have the same issue too. In fact, I know I do. Like, I don't do every single thing that I know how to do for all of my clients, right? I only do the stuff that I need to do for them. Same thing for you, right? Like, I bet there's a ton of stuff that you can do, but you don't do every single thing that you can do for every single client. That would be ridiculous. And so your customers, and I know my clients are the same way, especially if you're working with like doctors or people that can serve people in a variety of different ways. So it's really helpful if instead of talking about everything that you can do on your website, if you go back to step one and say, well, this is the audience and here's the specific stuff I can do for them, that will massively increase the conversion rate of your website. And of course, that massively increases the value of your work. Here's another one. Have you helped your clients figure out which inbound traffic sources are working the best? And I tend to think of 3 major traffic sources when I'm thinking about this. I think of social traffic, search traffic, and paid traffic. So social traffic would be like anything that comes through Facebook or Instagram, both in terms of like organic posts, but also like if you say you spin up like we work a lot with local businesses. And one of the things I feel like is really important is just to put up a Facebook page for the local business, even if you just post to it like once a week. And the reason for that is a lot of neighbors will go onto Facebook and they'll say something like, does anybody know anybody who can build a deck or that can, do whatever, like do some home service? And then other people will be like, oh yeah, you got to work with this guy. And they'll start tagging the business, usually the Facebook page. And so when that happens, your client will then get a notification, hey, people are talking about you over there. And then plus people can click on that tag and then go to your page and see some examples of what you do, your contact information, get in touch. So I would consider that to be social traffic, even though it's not really interactions or engagements with your actual post. It's like other people talking about you. So that's really, really cool. And then on top of that, I have search traffic, Google and search engine and everything, and then paid traffic, like you might buy ads. And I want to know what's working the best, because it's not always as easy to understand as it might seem. Like if you're working with a client that's sort of launching a new product, the search traffic is probably not going to you might not have any search traffic because it's a new product. How are people going to search for something if they don't even know what it is? On the other hand, if it's something like roofing, where everybody knows what roofing is, then I really do want to focus on search traffic. So that's an example of what I'm talking about with like which traffic sources are working the best based on the audience and the type of products that your clients are selling. And then on top of that, really closely related to that, are what are the discovery indicators doing? And so discovery indicators are more than just search rankings. It's obvious it's like your Google search position for different keywords and stuff, but it's also like your Google Maps positioning and your Google Business Profile interactions and Yelp page views and the traffic to your website. Like these are all things that are indicating that people are discovering your business. And I want to show my client, hey, look, since we started working together, these discovery indicators are really increasing. In fact, one of the things I'm working on right now is a new video for YouTube here that's going to go through local SEO kind of 101, like local SEO essentials. And it's going to be a bunch of stuff. We usually charge about $500 for this package. It's just a bunch of stuff that you can do without having to buy anything or subscribe to any tools. It's just a local SEO package. And it's a great way to get some recurring revenue coming in. So don't forget to subscribe for that. That's coming up in a couple weeks. But here's a few more questions to kind of get back on track with what we're talking about here. How are you optimizing time on site and reducing bounce rates for your clients? This is such an easy thing to overlook because I tend to just think, well, I just want to launch the website and get it out. But have you ever thought about, well, how are people interacting with the stuff that you just launched? Like say, if I have a really bad bounce rate, like a lot of people are just like hitting the site and then leaving right away. Well, when I look at that, I know that the problem is not the call to action. It's not the information down the page. It's not even getting to the bottom part of the page. It's probably the headline or the audience targeting that we just talked about. People are looking at this, taking a quick glance at what they see, and they're like, yeah, I don't think this is for me. And then they bounce. So when I see a high bounce rate, I think to myself, do I need to change how I'm targeting my audience? Or do I need to change the message on like my headline message so that my audience really does understand I'm talking to them? That's a huge thing. Or if it's not a bad bounce rate, like people are spending some decent time on site, but they're not converting, then I'm going to be looking further down the page and say, well, maybe the call to action is too intimate of a thing. Like what I mean by that, it's like it's too big of a step. It's like going from first discovery to buy now, all in the same visit. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's probably too much. And maybe there's something that I can do to maybe get some leads from people who are interested, but not quite ready to like schedule a call yet. And so that kind of leads us to the next one, which is how are you building your client's email list? An email list is such a valuable thing. Your email list is going to be more valuable than probably all of your social media channels combined, especially for local businesses, because local businesses generally don't create enough content on social media to grow an audience organically there. And so what I like to do is I like to grow my client's social media audience through email, and I like to grow my email list through some of these discovery indicators, either social traffic, search traffic, or ads. So I'm kind of, let's say I'm using ads to pull in traffic onto my landing page. I'm getting an email address, and then I can nurture that address. And one of the things that I might do in that nurturing sequence is say, hey, why don't you follow me over on Facebook? Or hey, why don't you subscribe to my YouTube channel? Which would be great if you did that for me. And that way I can nurture my clients or nurture my leads until they become clients in sort of a counterintuitive way. And then I want to think, well, what lead magnets are working the best? Right? Because in fact, this morning I was actually working with a roofing website, and we had this lead magnet where you put your email address in, and then you can download a document that gives you like 10 things to look for to see if your roof needs to be replaced. And that might work well. If it doesn't work as well as I want, I can take that same information, but just reformat it in the format of like a quiz. Answer a few questions, and then I'll grade your roof, and the results will be like, A through F or 1 through 10 or something like that, on like how likely you need to change or upgrade your roof in the near future. And sometimes you'll find that the quiz resonates and gets more interaction than just downloading a thing. And so I want to check that out, and then and get some leads coming through. And then once I get the leads coming through, then I want to nurture the leads like we were just talking about. Maybe it's joining social media, maybe it's an email drip campaign, maybe I do something in person like an open house, but I want to start nurturing those leads. And so what are you doing to help your clients nurture their leads? right? So see how all this stuff kind of stacks on itself? Because you have to have the audience, you have to have a lead magnet, you have to have an email list, then you have to nurture the leads. So this is really building tremendous value, because what we're doing is we're building a customer journey. We're not just throwing out a website and saying, here, there's the website. We're saying, here's how you get traffic. Here's how you get clients. Here's how you get leads. Then you get clients. And then you can even nurture those clients into repeat clients with like customer loyalty and everything. So I want to look through all of that. And then I also want to optimize the conversion rates on my campaigns. So if I'm targeting somebody through ads, where I know I have a really targeted audience because I'm doing the audience targeting through the ad manager of whatever platform, like I'm doing Google search ads or something, or Facebook ads or something, I know that I have a really tight audience. And so if I'm pulling in leads and clicks from those ads, I want to have like a 10 to 20% conversion rate on that landing page. And if I know that I can go from traffic to leads at let's say at least 10%, and then I want to get another 10% conversion rate from leads to clients, then I know, if I know that, like if you know you can go from traffic to leads at 10% and leads to clients at 10%, that tells you that you need 100 leads to get one client, like 100 clicks basically to get one client. And then you can say, well, how much does a click cost? I don't know, what if you're paying $2 a click? Well, now you know it's $200 to get one client. And if it's a roofing company selling like a $20,000 or $50,000 roof, that's great, right? And so you can tell your clients, look, I'm pulling in leads for you for $200. You're selling $50,000 roofs. How do you like that? That's pretty good. So I want to look through that information and then tell that to the clients so they can see where the value is. They can see that I'm helping. And that makes a huge, massive difference in terms of the value behind your work. And then what about customer loyalty? Because here's one of the things that's so crazy about the web design world right now. Most web designers don't really have a business model that really facilitates a lot with customer loyalty. So we find ourselves constantly looking for brand new clients all the time, either through referrals or whatever, just trying to reach new clients. But the hardest thing and the most expensive thing to do is to get a brand new client. It's much easier to get an existing client to work with you more, to work with you again. And that's a huge, huge thing, because if you can do that, if you can improve the velocity of transactions and the quantity of transactions, that's a massive thing, especially compared to not doing that at all. So I want to look through, like, what am I doing to build these customer loyalty programs, and how successful are the programs? Like, let's take a look at what things we're doing, how things were going before we started these programs. And now let's look at the velocity and the quantity of transactions per customer after the program, and look at the value that I'm bringing. That's huge, right? And then one last one is, how do you manage your client's online reputation? And when I think about online reputation, I'm not just thinking about reviews and responding to reviews and things like that. I'm also thinking about authority and trust. And by trust, I don't necessarily mean like people are tricking people or scamming people. What I really mean is, can I trust the information that's out there? Like if I look at your Google business profile and I see one phone number, and then I look at your website and I see the other phone number, which one am I supposed to call? Maybe neither of them are right? Which one can I trust? Or if I look at the profile and it says one set of hours of operation, then I go to your website and it has a different list of hours. Are you open? Can I trust that if I go there that you're actually going to be open? So what I'm talking about with like managing my client's reputation is, I want to invite their customers to leave reviews and respond to the reviews, but I also want to make sure that the information is consistent out there, because that's going to build trust, build authority, get more clicks. And not only do people appreciate that, but Google themselves appreciate that kind of verification, like that phone number is correct because it's in both places. Those hours are correct because they're in both places. And if I know that the phone number and the hours are correct, then I'm going to promote you to more of our audience. So Google's going to promote you to more people, because they can trust that, or at least they have a higher percentage chance of being able to trust that the information is correct and that people that are searching for stuff will get good experiences. And that's what Google is all about, trying to get you a good experience. So here's the crazy thing though. Are you ready? You don't have to do all of this stuff. This might feel like an overwhelming amount of stuff, but again, like check the link in the description for that new workshop, and you'll see exactly what we put into our $12,000 packages, how we get leads for those clients. And we only do a handful of these things in our $12,000 package. We don't have there's not a budget to do all of those things. So if you just do a few of them, it can make a huge difference. So check out that workshop. If you're still interested in pricing, check out this video over here, and we'll go kind of 20 years of testing for like, what's the sweet spot in web design pricing today.